Right, what's happening, people? Welcome along to episode 18 of the Over the Hill podcast solo show today. Haven't done one of these for a few episodes. Basically, these are the episodes that happen when my guest, whoever that may be that week, drops out suddenly last minute. Shit happens. What can you do? Big shouts out to all the guests that have come on. People were just donating their time really to come on the show, and some people that are actually, got really busy lives themselves. So I appreciate when a guest has to drop out last minute. It's a pain in the ass, but luckily enough, I'm good at sitting rambling crap to myself in an empty room. So not too bad. By all means, it's not the worst thing in the world. I can still sit here and knock out a podcast for you guys once a week, even if it's just an hour, which I'm hoping today runs roughly an hour, maybe a little bit more. We'll see what happens. Got some stuff lined up on the show. I took some suggestions on my Instagram recently, and I've taken some ideas from those with regards to content for the day's show. But yeah, wanted to just kickstart really with just saying thank you very much for the support so far. Loads of people have been sending in their emails to the Over the Hill podcast at gmail.com. If you have and I haven't replied, I do apologise. I've got a correspondence going with a couple of people, and I do try and get back to everyone, but just know that I do read everything. The inbox is always cleared out, every few days, and I do read everything. It's just I just haven't got time to sit and reply to some of the messages. Some of them are really long. Some of them are, people reaching out that have been fans of pirate radio and stuff for years, and they just wanted to sort of give their feedback and talk about things. And yeah, I love getting into those conversations, so I will be getting back to everyone as soon as possible. But between working a 9 to 5, hitting back up the gym and everything else, it's it's a bit of a mission trying to just be able to sit and have time to associate with everyone. And then obviously, when you put time aside and plans fall through and podcasts fall through, then obviously you could have spent that time planning for other stuff, so it can get a little bit frustrating. But we are where we are. So I'm drinking coffee. It's 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon, and I need that pick me up. I decided when I got up this morning, rather than go to the gym, because it's been absolutely pissing down for the last few days. I decided I was gonna just train at home. I bought weights ages ago, like a year and a half ago or so, before, I think even before COVID. And I just hadn't used them. I didn't even use them during lockdown. They've just been gathering dust. So I cleaned them off this morning, got up, done some circuits. Big shouts out to Ben Gladden. Been watching him a little bit more. One of my former guests, been watching him a bit on Instagram, and he's actually been training with a friend of mine. So a bit inspired this morning. So I did some circuits indoors, some squats and some shoulder presses and curls and whatnot, just to get the old blood flowing. Been hitting the gym a lot recently, been really enjoying it, been happy to be back. Had a good session with a mate of mine a few days ago, and yeah, felt absolutely battered for 2 days afterwards, but that is what it is. It's all good, and it's all good fun. Also been going out and just trying to get a little bit more active, jumped back on the old Boris bike, did a little bit of cycling on Sunday morning around City, left at about 6 a.m, went out for an hour or so and came back. Had a bit of breakfast and then had a nap because Sunday, fuck it, why not? The city's really enjoyable that time. Everyone knows I live in SW1, so I'm always around that area, and it's always just really busy, traffic, too many people, can't stand it half the time. But at 6 in the morning on a Sunday, it's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. It reminds me of first lockdown, where the roads were empty and stuff, and yeah, I can just cycle everywhere without fear of death. I mean, I'm always careful on the road anyway. Always follow the traffic signs and stuff. I stop at lights even when there's no one around. Maybe occasionally I might sort of go just before it's going to turn or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, especially during the daytimes and stuff, I'm really sensible on the roads on a bicycle. But at that time of the morning, it's just a dream. It's an absolute dream. I will say that the most dangerous people out there are pedestrians. Though pedestrians not looking where they're going is the biggest nightmare. They just stand there on their fucking phone and they just step out into a cycle lane. And if you're getting up a little bit of speed, you've got to brake really quick, because of some cunt who's got their face buried in Instagram or TikTok. So speaking of TikTok, the podcast has got an official TikTok account now. So search for the Over the Hill podcast on TikTok. I've done a couple of videos over the weekend, cooking ones. Yeah, it came out all right. It's what it is, isn't it? But yeah, I thought I'd jump on there and start making a little bit of content. Maybe do some special videos just for that channel. It's quite a fun platform. It's another one of them ones that you can just get lost in, just watching absolute shit for half an hour. If you're on a train or a bus or something like that on a commute, So yeah, it's quite a crack. But the Over the Hill podcast. is now officially on TikTok, as well as being on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, basically everywhere. Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. Which reminds me, make sure you subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, keep leaving those 5-star reviews. I've had quite a few so far. They're all really appreciated. But, you know, when you leave them, don't just tick the 5-star. Actually leave a review as well. Leave some feedback. Let the people know what the pod's about, you know. Let the people know that it's great. That is if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't leave comments because I'm not fucking interested. Also, shouts out to the people who did leave a few, well, the one particular person who left a few negative comments on YouTube. I know you're going to watch this, you hating little bitch. So, yeah, big you up. Anyways, as I say, I had a few subjects I wanted to get into on the show today and talk about a few different bits. I'll probably round it off with some UFC predictions, but I know that that's not to everyone's bag. So when I've done the solo show before, one thing someone said to me was like, it was really UFC dominant, you know, so a lot of shit that they weren't really interested in, and you know, so it's quite good to have a broad scope and see what people are feeling. Obviously, you know, we discuss a lot of different topics on the podcast. It's not just music, it's not just pirate radio. I've had health and fitness people on here, I've had singers on here, I've had, you know, someone that works for a media company on here, people that are making documentaries and whatnot. So it is a bit of a mixed bag, and yeah, solo episode with myself. Obviously going to try and keep that theme going and try and do some stuff and talk about some stuff that is interesting for everyone. One of the suggestions that was given to me on Instagram when I was talking about stuff that people wanted to see and hear on a podcast in the near future, someone mentioned the books that I've read during lockdown and the stuff that I'm currently reading. So I've pulled out a couple that I bought over the course of the last year or so, and I've got 4 books here, my favourite ones that I've read, and I'm going to go through them. I'm going to start with this one, which is a book I haven't quite finished yet. I'm only about halfway through it, but it's brilliant. I don't need to finish it to know how good it is, and that is Empire Land by Satnam Sanghera, who is he actually wrote part of this at my work as well, so if anyone knows where I work, then yeah, you'll get the connection there. But yeah, really, really great book. It's it digs into imperialism, colonialism, the breakup of India, you know, the idea behind English exceptionalism and why we sort of have this thing where we feel like we're the greatest country on earth. And I know other countries have that as well, but it's a particularly weird type of exceptionalism in England. And yeah, if you're interested in knowing why, you know, there are racial tensions and it is a big discussion in the country at the moment, and why just because we're one of the least raced countries, quotes unquotes, we still are a very divisively racist country. And, you know, there are a lot of issues that still need to be addressed. And part of it stems from British Empire and the stuff that we got up 2 years ago. Really, really interesting book. A lot of stuff that I didn't know about the breakup of India and the treatment of different religions, and, you know, stuff between Sikhs and Hindus and Muslims and stuff over in the subcontinent of India and stuff when all of that stuff was going on. And yeah, really, really interesting. I'm not, as I say, I'm about halfway through it, but this is something that this is something that I think everyone should sink their teeth into and sort of have a little butcher's at. Yeah, not to everyone's liking. Some people don't like facing up to reality, but we are where we are. Speaking of reality, the other book I wanted to point out is this, which is The Secret Barrister, Stories of the Law and How It's Broken. Now, this is the first book by the Secret Barrister, who, if you follow on Twitter, you will know is an absolute genius. It's literally exactly as it says on the tin. The Secret Barrister is a person who is a qualified barrister / lawyer, solicitor. He kind of explains the differences in the book. So yeah, that was one thing that I learned straight away. There are differences between lawyers, barristers and solicitors. But obviously, you know, they're in secret. I say they because I didn't want to say him, because that's kind of sexist, but it is actually him. I've heard their voice on an advert now, so I know it is a him, at least according to the radio advert. But yeah, Secret Barrister, Stories of the Law and How It's Broken. This is interesting. I'll read you the back cover because it's something that really struck me from when I picked it up. I'd wanted to buy it ages ago, and I bought it on I think it was when we went to Budapest in February last year. So this isn't one of my lockdown books, but it's actually when I got round to reading it. We were in the airport and I saw it, and I think it was in Smith's or something, and it was, you know, buy one get one half price, or buy one get one for £5. So I bought a book for my other half, and then, you know, I got this one. And Yeah, so basically it reads, you may not wish to think about it, but one day you or someone you love will almost certainly appear in a criminal courtroom. You might be a juror, you might be a victim, a witness, or perhaps through no fault of your own, a defendant. Whatever your role, you'd expect a fair trial. I'm a barrister. I work in the criminal justice system, and every day I see how fairness is not guaranteed. Too often, the system fails those it is meant to protect. The innocent are wronged, and the guilty are allowed to walk free. I want to share some stories from my daily life to show you how the system is broken, who broke it, and why we should start caring before it's too late. This is an absolute eye-opener. It is incredible. It's actually a lot of stuff that's come to light recently with regards to justice. I mean, rape cases and things like that, there's like a 5-year waiting list to even go to trial. If you want to, see justice, the likelihood of you even getting it is so remote, it's not even worth pursuing. So, you've got all of these criminals walking free, walking the streets, doing whatever the fuck they want to do for 5 years before they even go to trial. And in that time, you've been wandering around for 5 years having no justice, having no answers. Getting calls from a solicitor once every 6 months saying, oh yeah, court's still pending, blah, blah, blah. Obviously with COVID, that backlog's got even worse as well. So, he wrote this a couple of years ago. Real eye-opener. Definitely worth a read. The stories that he'll tell in this book is honestly incredible. Some of the people that are just down on their luck and got into a life of crime because of their family sort of thing, or they're from like a poor background or whatever, and there's been opportunities to help them, but the system fails them, even though we've still got one of the better systems in the world. Again, it's not perfect, right? So yeah, really interesting. He's actually written a second book called Fake Law. I've also got that's on the shelf in my living room, but I'm miles behind on all the other books I've got to read, so haven't got around to the sequel yet. But guys, honestly, you can get this really quite cheap on Amazon now. The first book, Secret Barrister, Stories of the Law and How It's Broken. Really great book. So definitely go and get that. The third one, this definitely won't be to everyone's liking. This is something I bought during lockdown. So obviously the Secret Barrister, I kind of finished that at the start of the first lockdown. That and a couple of other bits, because I already had them. And I really went hell for leather on collecting books last year, and bought a load of stuff, quite a lot of which I still haven't read, but just stuff that I really fancied. Something that I bought, I don't think, it wasn't during the first lockdown. I think I bought it in November during that mini second lockdown, and that is this. For those of you who are listening to audio, I'm actually recording for the YouTube as well. So I'm showing the camera right now my copy of a book called Believe Us, which is written by a fabulous journalist called Melissa Reddy, and it is a book about Liverpool Football Club, my beloved. Hence why I said this isn't going to be to everyone's liking. But if you're a mutuals kind of football fan, or if you support a lower league club and you kind of just follow the Premier League and you want a bit of an insight into how things are done, this is a really great read. It's not too long. It's quite a big book because I bought the hardback as soon as it came out, because got to support the independent people and that. Big up Melissa Reddy. Really fantastic journalist. She's actually quite a good pundit as well. I bought a couple of books to do with Liverpool's title win during the lockdowns and stuff. Andy Robertson's book was pretty good, but this really was great. Real inside story into how Klopp turned Liverpool around. Took us from outside of Europe, finishing 7th and 8th under the likes of Hodgson and whatnot, in the absolute darkest dog shit years. I know we had that little one good year under Brendan Rodgers, the Suarez season I call it, because let's be honest, if it wasn't for him, yeah. So enough said about that. But yeah, really great book. It's got, a lot of inside information as to stuff that's gone on, people that have come and gone, the behind the scenes stuff and how things work. And yeah, if you're a football fan, I'd definitely recommend it. Well worth a read. It's just, if you're a Liverpool fan, then you absolutely 100% have to read it, because yeah, you're a Liverpool fan. Why not? So that's Melissa Reddy. The book's called Believe Us. It's out everywhere, so definitely worth getting. I bought it on the pre-release. I got it before it even came out, because I've followed Melissa's work for a while, and she writes really well and she's really interesting. So yeah, last one I'm going to get onto was probably my favourite book. I got this just before Christmas, the Christmas lockdown, I think. Popped into Waterstones, and I got the Waterstones exclusive edition of this. James O'Brien, How Not to Be Wrong, The Art of Changing Your Mind. Now, a lot of people hate this guy. I'm not always the biggest fan of him, even though I retweet his stuff quite a lot. but he speaks truth to power. And on a radio station like LBC, which has got a lot of Tory voices on it, it's got some Labour voices on it as well, but a lot of Tory voices on it, and it had the likes of Farage and Katie Hopkins on there as well. He's always been one of those people who sort of swims against the tide, and yeah, he's not actually. People call him a lefty and this and that. He's not. He was never a fan of Jeremy Corbyn or anything like that. So, you know, he's actually quite middle of the road, but he just speaks some truth. So his first book, which was called How to Be Right, was a really interesting insight into debating and finding out why people have the opinions that they have. And it sort of just basically prosed it as, you know, if you ask people questions and just keep asking them questions, they'll soon realise that half of what they think it for no fucking reason. You know, for example, you know, why do you hate this particular group of people? It's like, oh, because of this. And it's like, okay, so what evidence have you got for that? Like, can you point me to something that I can look at as concrete evidence? Oh no, but I just feel like, okay, so basically what you're saying is you have no real evidence, but you just feel that way. Okay, let's explore why you feel that way. And he kind of breaks down, you know, why people feel a certain way about things. In the sequel, How Not to Be Wrong, The Art of Changing Your Mind, he talks about his own journey with being wrong about a lot of stuff in his life. It's not... You'd look at the title of a book like this, and you'd think, oh, it's just that fucking O'Brien fella from the viral clips thinks he's something special, and, you know, now he's talking about how he's always right again. No, it isn't that. It really isn't that. It's a really, really interesting read. Digs deep into his childhood, going to a school called Ampleforth, which is it's sort of like the Catholic Eton. It's a really expensive private school that his parents sent him to, and yeah, a lot of abuse case, sexual abuse. The priests and stuff there were just fucking all the young boys, basically, as happens in a lot of places. And it wasn't just the aspect of the sexual abuse, but they used to beat him up and stuff as well. So he goes into detail about, you know, how some of that stuff happened to him, not the sexual side of things, because he says that it didn't happen to him, so he was kind of lucky. But yeah, the physical and verbal abuse side of things he goes into. It's quite dark in parts. Really interesting chapters where he writes letters, just open letters, never sends them, but writes letters in the book to two of the priests or teachers that physically assaulted him when he went to that school. And through therapy, he learns how to, you know, he sort of discovers himself and discovers why he was always argumentative, why he had to win an argument. It didn't even matter if he was right. He just had to win, just had to win, just had to win. And I think if a lot of people nowadays who are stuck in this social media world of constantly arguing with people and fighting with people and my side's better than your side and blah, 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 and, you know, getting really angry about life all the time, I think if those kind of people read this, which they won't, because, you know, it's that fucking lefty liberal James O'Brien. I'm not going to listen to him, and, you know, round and round the carousel you go, because you're still being angry that someone's speaking some truth about stuff you don't like. But I think if a lot of those people actually read this and took it for what it is, it would open their eyes, really open mine a lot. He talks a lot about the benefits of therapy. Full disclosure, I've been through it myself. On episode 10, Mr. E, my special guest, was talking about his experience with CBT. I could relate to it a lot because I've done it myself as well, and I've been through it. Been through therapy, been through CBT, been through a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's eye-opening for some, not as eye-opening for me in the sense that I kind of get where he's coming from completely. So yeah, really interesting book, really good read, quite an easy read as well. A lot of it is conversations from his radio show and stuff, which are also really hilarious at times. But, you know, for people who seem to think that that Mr. O'Brien is just someone who completely always thinks he's, you know, right and he's the authority on everything, it's the opposite of that. That book's really, really a self-discovering journey of, you know, why are you like this kind of thing. So yeah, really recommend that. So those are my 4 favourites that I read during lockdowns. As I say, I also bought Fake Law, which was the Secret Barrister sequel. I bought a book called Shadow State by a guy called Luke Harding, which is all about Russian interference in the Western world. Really looking forward to getting around to that eventually. Also bought Chaos by, I think his name was Tom O'Neill. He was a guest on Rogan's podcast, and he basically spent 20-30 years investigating Charles Manson. And yeah, the book Chaos goes into the somewhat conspiracy theory, but also somewhat facts that Charles Manson was kind of brainwashed by the CIA in a program called MK Ultra. So really looking forward to finally getting around to that. I also bought a book called Breathless or Breathlessness by Dr. Rachel Clark, who's a terrific doctor slash campaigner, NHS doctor, and she talks about life inside the COVID wards. I've had a flick through. She's a doctor that provides end of life palliative care basically for dying patients. So I've had a little flick through. I need to be in the right frame of mind to read it because I think I'll probably save it till COVID's over because and I know it is kind of over, but yeah, lots happened and I've lost a couple of relatives and stuff. So yeah, I haven't really sort of braved reading it yet. Ministry of Truth by Damian Linsky. I can't remember what the actual name is now. It's a book about George Orwell. Again, really fascinating. Something else that I'd recommend to read. So yeah, picked up a lot during the lockdowns, read a lot. But yeah, those four. Definitely looking forward to finishing Empire Land. For me, it's up there with Akala Natives. And if you haven't read that, read that and you'll realise why we still have a massive problem with racism in this country. So yeah, those are really good reading materials, and thank you for the people who suggested doing some book reviews and stuff, and I'd like to talk more about things like that in the future. So if you're interested or if you're reading anything, do feel free to email me, get in touch, theoverthehillpodcast@gmail.com. I'm always willing to share links and talk about stuff that I enjoy, that isn't quite what we'd normally talk about on the podcast, So yeah, there goes the book review. That was like the most sort of professional podcasty thing I've ever done. I need to bang some more of this coffee or I was going to go to waste. I know people are really annoyed by the lip snacking and the slurping sounds on the mic, but fuck you, it's my coffee, it's my podcast, I do what I want. It's weird because one thing I'll always tell people who do broadcasting, radio, podcasts and things like that, never have a drink with milk in it before you go on air because it can coat your throat and make your voice come out really fucked up. So I'm breaking my own rule. Hopefully I last and I'm not too bad, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But that is a real thing though. I've done it before. I've been on radio and I've had like a nice coffee or something or a milkshake or whatever, and you just find your voice just being all like so yeah, that's why that is. Same as if I'm ever doing a presentation at work and things like that. Never do I have dairy before I do those. Try not to have coffee half the time because it might, make you talk an absolute amount of shite, but also you might need a shite. So that is one of the worst things in the world, is having a coffee and, having a coffee a bit late in the morning before you leave for work and then not having time to have that post-coffee dump because, fuck me, that post-coffee dump is biblical anyway. But it's also, it's really, it's really sudden sometimes. So I don't know if it's just me that I'm sure it isn't just me. I'm sure there's plenty of other people listening out there who get the coffee shits. So sometimes even if I just smell it, if I wake up and the coffee's brewing in the morning, it just sets me off. So yeah, why am I talking about shit? Who knows? But yeah, so some other stuff to get into on the podcast. England are fucking shite. As this drops, it's going to be dropping on Wednesday. Today's Monday, so we might well have qualified Tuesday night. I don't know. To be honest, I don't care. Probably not even going to watch it. Wasn't impressed with the Croatia game. Definitely not impressed with the Scotland game. Big up Wales for getting through and that. As we're recording, it's just been announced that Billy Gilmore of Scotland's caught COVID, and I did say on Twitter that there's no chance the England players called it off him because none of them managed to get close to him on Saturday, so or Friday, should I say. That's how shit it was. I don't even remember what day it was on. Yeah, literally sat and watched that game with my missus and her flatmate, and all three of us just sat there at the end of it, just like, well, that's 90 minutes or 100 odd minutes, give or take, of our lives that we're never ever going to get back. And yeah, that was the case. Absolute shower of shite. I can't see England getting further than last 16, maybe quarters, as usual, sort of thing. We always get overhyped about this shit. People need to remember that our World Cup run to the semis was fucking diabolical. Like, we went through against Colombia on penalties and we beat Sweden. Like, that ain't a hard run. Sorry, but our group was a piece of piss. All we had to do was like win our other two games and draw with Belgium, which we did. Like, who else did we play? Was it Panama? I don't even remember the other two games. Like, it's a fucking joke. It really is a joke. And then us and Belgium were playing each other in the last game, and we both put B teams out. It just don't make no sense. So yeah, really, really bizarre to think that England are actually going to progress through this tournament when the last tournament, honestly, really and truthfully, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. People can pretend and everything else, but it just wasn't. So let's stop pretending. Let's crack on, and wait for the league to start again, because that's real football, isn't it? Let's be honest. I think France are going to walk it. I just get the feeling. I know they struggled against Hungary the other day, but that's Hungary in front of a full capacity home crowd when we're not really used to fans being back and stuff. And it was sweltering hot, and I'm sure it was a blip in the road for France. I could be mistaken. Portugal could go and smash them. I don't know. Who really does? But yeah, I can't see past France. Italy do look very good, but even then they looked good against Wales. But Wales they were against 10 men for about an hour. So really and truthfully, I suppose thinking about it, they did have a lot of their second sort of string out there. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Italy. They do look good though. They do look fucking good. I think it's between them and France. Germany and Portugal looking like they might be there or thereabouts. But those are the big four really. There's no one else that's sort of going to come close to them, least of all England. I mean, if England play like they did against Scotland, then they deserve to fucking go out. Interesting. Everyone's dark horse for the tournament, Turkey, just turned out to be absolute turkeys. Done fuck all, lost all 3 games. So yeah, that was interesting. And then Croatia's been the fascinating one for me because and this goes to show that the World Cup in 2018 wasn't that great in and of itself anyway, because the other finalists are pretty much going out in the first round. It looks like they probably will beat Scotland. As I say, this is going to come out Wednesday, and people are going to say, "Oh, you got it wrong. They beat Scotland and they went through." Yeah. All right, yeah, great, wonderful. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Croatia moving forward. They're looking kind of shit. But yeah, this is just it. They were World Cup finalists last time round, and what a difference 3 years make, because they look absolutely crap. So yeah, I just think, I don't know what it is with England fans. I really don't. Like, it just seem to, again, read Satnam Sampera's book, fucking Empire Land, and read about English exceptionalism, and things might start to make a little bit more sense in your life. But we just have this whole thing about, like, yeah, we're going to do it because we're English. It's like, don't mean fuck all. We really don't mean fuck all. It's absolute shite. So yeah, Southgate, good luck with everything, mate. But yeah, really and truthfully, fuck off, innit? But yeah, try not to get bogged down too much, and try not to get too upset, and don't smash things up when we go out and all that kind of stuff, because we have this really bad reputation for being sore losers and absolute shit cunts, and it's not unwarranted. Let's put it that way. It really isn't unwarranted. So yeah, we are where we are. What else has been going on? What have I been watching recently? MasterChef Australia. I fucking love MasterChef Australia. It is the best version of MasterChef going. The 3 hosts that they've got now that started last year are just fantastic. Breath of fresh air, better than any of the other hosts on it. I do enjoy the American one with Ramsay. I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan, even though he's a massive fucking Tory. I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan. I like his shows, and I'll talk about one of his shows in a minute. Actually, I love the Kitchen Nightmare stuff. I think it's hilarious. And yeah, he's got a couple of new restaurants opened up, a new street pizza and a street burger. I'm going to go and try those. And obviously one of our aspirations is to eventually be able to go and eat at his flagship restaurant, which is just down the road from where I live. But at the minute, COVID and whatnot, I'm not really looking to go and spend £500 on dinner anytime soon. So yeah, but yeah, MasterChef Australia. If you haven't watched it, I'm sure you can find it online. Be completely honest, as I always am on the podcast, I've got one of those dodgy Fire Sticks that means I can basically watch any show from anywhere in the world whenever I fucking want. So yeah, all good. Really, really great show though, MasterChef Australia. I'm about 10 episodes behind because it's on like 4 or 5 times a week. So, it's about an hour long. So trying to keep up with it's a pain, but because I've got it there, I can just sort of catch up. And yeah, really, really good show. Amazing food some of these people cook. Amazing. Some of them are just home cooks as well. They don't actually have jobs in the industry or anything like that. So Really, really, really interesting. I really need to try and finish this coffee. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm not really, because it's coffee and coffee's life, but right, downed it. So probably going to need a shit in about 3.5 minutes. So let's crack on with the podcast. If you hear a little the camera sort of goes funny or whatever, it's because I went off to take a shit. So, but yeah, MasterChef Australia, really great show. If you get a chance to watch it, definitely tune in. The early seasons are good, but the new judges, Melissa Leong, Jock Zonfrillo, and Andy Allen, who's a former MasterChef Australia winner, they really are just a breath of fresh air. They're just a delight to watch. So, yeah, really great show. Go and watch it. I mentioned Gordon Ramsay. His show, I don't know where it airs. It might be on ITV. I don't know, but he's got a show called Uncharted. Again, I watch it on my Fire Stick, so fuck knows what channel it's actually on, but I'm sure you can Google it. If you've never seen Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, what a show. Really, really good. If you're into cooking and you're into like nature stuff, like documentaries and things like that, definitely worth watching. He basically goes to remote parts of the world. He goes to like out of Norway and fucking he goes to Peru and all these different places. And he goes, like rock climbing to pick these herbs off the side of a mountain that can only be found in this particular place. And he cooks all the native food with the native people and they try his food and they sort of judge whose is better between theirs and like, the local big chef and whatever. Really, really interesting show. Really fun. One of the episodes recently, he actually caught and killed a rattlesnake and cooked rattlesnake. So, yeah, just random shit like that. Don't watch it if you're squeamish because, yeah, he eats spiders and all kinds of mad shit. So, yeah, really good. There's been 2 seasons of it and it's back. Season 3 is on. I don't know when he filmed it or if it was like during the sort of non-COVID time last summer when we all sort of did whatever the fuck we wanted within reason. Yeah, don't know when he filmed it, but yeah, really, really good show. Really interesting. He's quite a character, old Ramsay. He really is. So yeah, for a Tory, he's not all bad. Yeah, big up Ramsay. But yeah, so that's what I've been watching. Recently watched the movie Nobody, which everyone's kind of gone on and on and on about. My dad was just ranting on about it when I went to see him a few days ago. So yeah, it was good. It's got the chap, I can't remember his name, but it's the fella from Better Call Saul. He's in it. Christopher Lloyd's in it. Reza from Wu-Tang's in it for a little bit. And the woman who was in Gladiator and Devil's Advocate, she's in it. So yeah, no, it was good. Not gonna say it blew my socks off. Everyone says it's like the movie of the year, but I think that's probably because we've had no fucking movies. Although I did go and see A Quiet Place too. We'll get onto that in a minute. Yeah, it was good. It's one of these sort of like guy down on his luck sort of thing, but it's a little bit of a Taken where he's clearly used to be something and he was sort of into, some sort of military grade secret agent shit. And he's now like a retired dad or whatever, but it turns out that if you piss him off, he can actually kill every motherfucker walking. So it's one of those films, not really to be taken seriously, but no, it was good. It was good fun. Killed a couple of hours on a Sunday evening when I had nothing better to do. So yeah, definitely worth a watch. Super violent, loads of really like fun fight scenes and stuff. A couple of bits where you sort of go, oh, like that was just over the top violent. But yeah, no, it was good. I see why people enjoy it. Definitely wouldn't go as far as to say movie of the year. Yeah, maybe it's just me. I'm sure. I just think there's going to be better films that come out this year. One of which was A Quiet Place Part 2, which we went to see a couple of weeks ago. Or last weekend. I don't know when it was. Maybe 2 weeks ago. But yeah, really, really, really good film. I've waited well over a year for that to come out. It was due to come out just as COVID hit. The first lockdown came in, I think, actually on the release date, and the cinemas had all closed and they'd stopped, releasing movies and stuff that week. So I was fuming because I loved the first Quiet Place movie. I know it was a success, but a lot of people I know didn't watch it at the time and they didn't really catch on. I went to see it. I've said it on the podcast a few times. I go to the cinema quite a lot on my own. So I went to see that on my own in the middle of the daytime at the View in Fulham. There was like 2 other people in there, 2 women sort of sitting across the other side of the cinema. We sort of looked at each other like, hello, only other people here, hi, kind of thing. Sat down and watched that. And it's an interesting film because it's almost completely no dialogue. It's a little bit like I Am Legend in that sense, where it's like, how do you carry a film with no dialogue? But trust me, they carried the film with no dialogue. It was fantastic. So, yeah, Quiet Place Part 1 was fucking great. Part 2 did not disappoint by any means. It did not disappoint at all. Starts off with kind of like a flashback scene from how everything happened. I mean, if you haven't seen A Quiet Place Part 1, this isn't a spoiler, but it is a little bit of information into the film. Basically, it's post-apocalyptic. The world's been taken over by these aliens that came down and just fucking killed everything, basically, for no reason. You never understand why it's happened. But they just came down, invaded, and fucking killed everything. But the weird thing about them is they're blind, and they hunt with their super sensitive hearing. So if you make a sound, they'll fuck you up. And yeah, that's the concept of the film. So that's why it's called A Quiet Place. They have to live in silence. Everything they do has to be quiet. So yeah. So anyway, they have a flashback in Quiet Place Part 2 to how everything sort of went to shit and how it all kicked off in the first film. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see a little bit of a backstory, and sort of bring back John Krasinski for the second one, because he's not supposed to be in the second one. Spoiler alert for the first. I didn't say it directly, but I'm sure you can all guess. I know I'm not editing that out. Fuck you. If you haven't seen Quiet Place Part 1, that's your problem. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Part 2, definitely worth a watch. Cillian Murphy's in it, who's always great. It's Emily Blunt as well, for those of you who haven't seen the first one. She's in it. She's fantastic. And after the flashback, it pretty much picks up exactly where the first one left off. I mean, they kind of didn't really have that much of a break between shooting. They just sort of went straight into it, and obviously it's been delayed for a little bit, so it feels like there was a gap, for them making it, but it was made. It was ready to go at the start of last year, and I think the first one only came out in 2018, so 18 months between movies, something like that. Yeah, definitely worth a watch. It's kind of a little bit like that one that came out on Netflix, Bird Box. It's better than that though. It's definitely better than Bird Box. I think that's what it was called anyway, the Sandra Bullock one, where they couldn't see, they weren't allowed to see. If they saw, then they saw this thing and then it made them kill themselves or kill someone else or whatever. Similar, it's similar. So yeah, much better than Bird Box though, for sure, because you actually see the monsters and they're fucking nuts. So yeah, really good. If you're into, so I would say it's a combination of Stranger Things and Bird Box, but better. Maybe not better than Stranger Things, but definitely better than Bird Box. So yeah, that was worth a watch. Don't know what we're going to go and see next at the cinema. I really wanted to see Mortal Kombat at the cinema, but I ended up watching it online anyway, on Amazon. So yeah, I mean, I've got a big TV and, decent sound and stuff, so it was pretty cool. Wanted to go see it at the cinema, but then by the time the cinemas opened, it was on for like a week, and then they sort of just filtered it off. So it was like, all right, I'm just watched it at home, so fuck it. I'm one of them people that, if it's a really good film, I never mind paying to go and see it at the cinema. I don't even mind paying to go and see it at the cinema, even if I've seen it at home. I'm quite happy to do that. I remember when Wolf of Wall Street came out, I had a downloaded copy of it months before I think it even hit the cinema. Or at least a month before, and I watched it and I thought it was great, and then someone else wanted to go and see it, and I paid to go and see it again because it's a fucking great movie. Not necessarily that meant that I had to go and see it at the cinema, like some films, like a Mortal Kombat or whatever, but yeah, I don't mind doing that. If it's a really good film, then yeah, happy days. I went to see The Joker twice, went to see Endgame twice, so yeah, definitely happier now the cinemas are open. Gives a little option of stuff to do, especially when it's boiling hot outside and you've got a cinema that has got good air conditioning. Always good to be sat in a cinema on a really hot day when the aircon's booming. Even watch back-to-back films, which I have done before. I can't remember what it was now. I think it was one of the Star Wars films and something else I went to see on the same day. Sort of fucked off, went for a Nando's, came back and watched another film. So yeah, I have days like that when I'm on my own and I've got nothing better to do. I will just go out and watch a movie. So if you are like me and you have those opportunities, then A Quiet Place Part 2, while it's still out there, I would definitely recommend. Yeah, not sure what's coming out in the near future. There was a couple of adverts. I think one for the new Top Gun film. Looks really cool. Looks interesting. Fast and the Furious 9. Like, what is going on? Why? Like, fucking hell. Now, like, John Cena's in it and he's fucking Vin Diesel's brother or something. Like, how many relatives has that cunt got? That are just going to pop out of everywhere, you know what I mean? It's mad. It's absolute madness. But big up John Cena. Everyone knows, or everyone that knows me knows I was a big wrestling fan. I quite like John Cena. Always did. Always thought he was a cool guy. So, big him up. Hopefully he's all the success in the world and everything else and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, Fast and the Furious 9? Oh, fucking hell. Okay, we are where we are in life, I suppose, and any film is better than no film, I suppose, in a way. It is good that the industry is kind of just getting back on its feet, though. So, mentioned John Cena there, mentioned being a fan of pro wrestling, which kind of leads me on to sort of the last 15-20 minutes of the show here. I want to talk about the upcoming UFC event. Just a quick recap of what happened this past weekend. The Korean Zombie, I'm just reading it out here. So, Chan Sung John. I never call him that. I don't even know his name. I just call him Korean Zombie. Everyone just calls him Korean Zombie, right? That's just what we call him, yeah? We're all in agreement. Cool. Well, anyway, he got a decision over Dan Ige. That's pretty cool. Not for Dan, obviously, but, the Korean Zombie. Good to see him in the win column and cracking on with his career. Hopefully, he can still sort of hanging around there and crack on. Really great fighter, really entertaining, always good value to watch. I watched a bit of the main, but the result was spoiled for me, so it always just kind of takes the edge off. If it's a KO, then great, but I knew it was a decision. I didn't really want to sit through 5 rounds. I mean, from what I watched, it was a good fight, but, we are where we are. I say that a lot, don't I? But anyway, elsewhere on the card, Alexia Lainick lost to Sergey Spivak. Spivak's on a bit of a roll, on a bit of a tear. Could be one to watch in the heavyweight division. Heavyweight's always a mixed bag, though, isn't it? In terms of quality of fighters and stuff. One thing I did watch live, it was just before I actually fell asleep because I had the fights on and I just sort of dozed off in bed. Matt Brown knocking out Diego Lima. Fucking hell. Talk about rolling back the clock, Matt Brown. Jesus. I think he's now got like the most finishes in UFC or something, or he's somewhere along those lines, or... Yeah, Matt Brown, the 40 or 41 years old, he was saying after the fight. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Julian Erosa got knocked out by Choi Seung Woo. Cool. I don't really know much about Choi Seung Woo, but I do love an Asian fighter. Big up the Asian man, then. And yeah, Marlon Vera beat Davy Grant. Sad, because we all like Davy Grant, but, Marlon Vera's up there, isn't he? He's a contender at that weight, so... Yeah, we'll see how things pan out for him. Just looking elsewhere on the card, Casey O'Neill, that's her name. Casey O'Neill, she's 7-0. She's won her 2 fights in the UFC. That woman at flyweight is the one to watch. Remember where you heard it. Casey O'Neill in the UFC flyweight division. She beat Lara Procopio, is her name? Cool. By submission in the 3rd round. Yeah, she's definitely one to watch. Casey O'Neill, King Casey MMA, I think, is her Instagram. Check her out. I think she's Aussie. I'm not sure, or she trains out there, or she trains in Thailand or something. But anyway, yeah, great fighter. She's been on a tear. Obviously, won her first couple of UFC fights. Definitely my one to watch over the next year or two. Got a card coming up this coming weekend. Just gonna have a look at a couple of the main fights here. Renato Moicano against Jay Herbert. Decent. Tim Means, Dirty Bird Means against Nicholas Dalby. That'll be a great fight. That'll be a real good fight. I really enjoy Nicholas Dalby. Really enjoy Tim Means as well, to be fair. Andre Fili against Daniel Pineda. Yep, okay. Decent enough. I'm going to butcher the shit out of this name. Kennedy, and I think it's a silent Ed, Nzechukwu. Okay. Just call him Kennedy Alphabet, because he's got every single letter of the alphabet in his surname. So Alf, we'll just call him Alf for now. So Alf against Danilo Marquez. Yep, good fight. Tanner Bossa, yep, against Ovin St. Preux. Yeah, decent fight. At heavyweight, is pretty cool to see OSP at heavyweight. Obviously, he's always a bit of a mixed bag. He's lost almost as many fights as he's won, so you never know where it's going to come. But he's got big knockouts in him. He's got big submissions in him, so always worth a watch. I haven't really got any picks on this card, by the way, guys. I'm just sort of skirting through. Cyril Ghane in the main event against Alexander Volkov. Cyril Ghane, 8-0 Frenchman. Interesting. He's got a big win over, I think he beat my boy Rosenstruck, didn't he? I can't remember now. I'd have to look at his actual record. Shall we pull it up? Shall we actually pull up the record? Let's have a look. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got a decision over Rosenstruck. So, Yeah, Rosenstruck does that sometimes, man. He's just, yeah, disappointing me. Really disappointing me. I had such high hopes for him, but it doesn't really seem to have been doing a lot as of late. But anyway, Cyril Ghane versus Alexander Volkov. Volkov, obviously former Bellator champion. He's had some big wins in the heavyweight division, notably against, the likes of Verdum. Recently, battered Alistair Overeem. Yeah, really great fighter, always interesting. Should have beat Derek Lewis, just switched off in the last few seconds and got fucking sparked. But otherwise, you could be seeing Volkov challenging for the title right about now, so shit happens. And again, it's the heavyweight division, right? It's one punch can just fucking destroy someone. So yeah, interesting main event now. I don't really know who's got it. Cyril Ghane seems to be the future, but Volkov is, he is Alexander Volkov, so we'll see what happens at the end of that. Yeah, you got a couple of fights on the prelims there. Not going to go too deep into those. I see man like Wally Alves is there, big him up. But yeah, on to the card of the year that everyone's talking about, or one of the cards of the year, because we've had some great ones this year so far. UFC 264 is coming up on the 10th of July. By the time it actually starts, it'll be Sunday the 11th of July in the UK. And yeah, I've pulled up the entire card here from the early prelims. It's fucking insane. It's absolutely insane, this card. It's one of those ones where if you don't watch it from the start, you're going to miss something wonderful. You really are going to miss something wonderful. It's difficult sometimes to sort of sit and say that you should watch an entire card, because sometimes even if you're a bit of a nut like me and you will watch it just because you're watching it and you want to learn a little bit more about the prelim fighters, yeah, sometimes it's a bit of a slog, because you can tell who some of the fighters are, and there might be just boring decisions on the undercard and whatnot. But no, this is worth watching from start to finish. It really is. So to start off with, this is published on Google, right? And some of these fights may change. I'm pretty sure some of them aren't even on the card anymore, but we're going to go through it. So from the early prelims, it should start around about 11 o'clock on the Saturday night. You've got Omari Akhmedov, which, I saw a meme the other day that's like, if you're fighting in the UFC and you're fighting a guy who has a sort of Arabic first name and a Russian surname, run. Fucking run. So Omari Akhmedov is fighting Brad Tavares. I do kind of fear for Brad Tavares a little bit, because yeah, fuck that, because that guy is he is good. He is really good. I think he lost the decision to Weidman. I don't know how. I think I'm thinking of the same guy anyway. I'm not going to pull up his full record to confirm, but I'll trust my own MMA knowledge on that and think that I am thinking of the right guy. But yeah, no, that's a tough night for Brad Tavares. I'm just extending the card here. So you've got Hu Yaozong against Alan Amedovsky. I don't really know those guys, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, one's 3-2, the other's 8-2. So it is what it is. Zaglaz Zumagulov against Jerome Rivera. Are they just putting these ovs on the card to just piss off Connor and stick a load of Dagestanis there, or Russians or whatever? Who knows? Flyweight on the early prelims, you've got Jennifer Maia against Jessica Ai, couple of former victims of Valentina Shevchenko. Hard to call a winner in that fight. Good fight, really good fight. If it's still on the card, I think it is. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe if I pull up the wiki card, because UFC don't always update their website. Google doesn't always update, and then you find out the week of that fights have dropped out. That's the other thing to remember as well, guys. I'm sitting here waffling on Monday the 21st of June. And this card's at least 2 or 3 weeks away, so a lot of stuff is going to change in the in-between time. I'm sure more people will pull out, as long as the main event doesn't pull out, and Connor's not known as a pull-out merchant. That's why he's got 3 kids. Whee! Connor's not a pull-out merchant by any means, so yeah, it looks like, when he's on a card, come hell or high water, he's fighting. So yeah, but yeah, Jessica Ai versus Jennifer Maia, yeah, really close call, that one. Really don't know what to pick. Fucking great. Really, really great fight. Another great fight. Again, it's saying on the early prelims, so I'm going to take that as gospel. Ryan Hall is apparently fighting Ilya Tuporia. Don't know who that is, but I know who Ryan Hall is. Ryan Hall is a gangster. Ryan Hall is an absolute gangster. It's a shame he's a little bit old because, you know, if he had a bit more of a long career ahead of him, I think that, you know, he could be serious long-term Hall of Famer. I mean, he's 36. He won the Ultimate Fighter season 22. You know, he's fought across the world in jiu-jitsu. He had a really, really great submission against BJ Penn in the UFC. You know, he can also fight on the feet. He's got a lot of skills. He's a really weird-looking dude. I mean, if you were to show a picture of him to people and say, oh, this guy's one of the most dangerous guys in the world, they'll probably look at you like you'd lost your fucking mind. But Ryan Hall, really great fighter, really interesting dude to watch. So obviously that's the headliner of the prelims, which are obviously going to be on ESPN Plus / UFC Fight Pass in the UK. In the UK, also, when we kick off the BT, I think it will be BT Sports 1, they'll show it on, or BT 2, the prelim card. So you have the early prelim card and then the preliminary card. I don't know why they don't just call it something different than the early prelims and then the prelims. It's just fucking annoying. You've got the debut of... Let me try and pronounce. I know this guy's a South African without even fucking checking up on him, which I already have done. But Dracus Du Plessis, Dracus Du Plessis, mate. That is literally the most South African name in the world. He's taken on Trevin Giles. Dracus Du Plessis. He's a fighter. I think he fights at middleweight and light heavyweight, or middleweight and welterweight. I know he's a 2-division fighter. He's a bit of a savage. He really, really looks good. So be interesting to see what he does in the UFC, because obviously when fighters come over to the UFC, it is a different story. So he's kicking off the card. Be a really interesting fight to watch. Sean Brady takes on Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's obviously worth his weight in gold. Always entertaining to watch. You know, he's fallen on hard times here and there. Bit of a mixed bag with some of his results, but, you know, good to see him back fighting. And, really interesting fight. Nico Price fighting Michael Pereira, or however those Brazilians want to pronounce it. He's obviously... he's entertaining as fuck, let's be honest. Like, he does all these crazy backflips and his cartwheels and blah, blah, blah. It's stupid to do that during a fight. We all know that, but that's what he does. That's his style. It's entertaining as fuck. And, we'll all watch it. Simple as that. I don't know why he's not on the actual pay-per-view, to be honest. Although, actually, looking at the card, who would he replace? I know who he'd replace, but we'll get onto that. So Nico Price takes on Michael Pereira. That's probably my pick of the prelims, because it's just going to be pure entertainment. Nico Price is a great fighter. You know, again, he's not quite at the top level. He's not really a top guy at all by any means. But I kind of fancy him in that fight, to be honest, because he's good, but, you know, he is what he is. Carlos Condit, my man. I love Carlos Condit, or as Joey Diaz calls him, Carlos Conduit. Carlos Conduit. He's a fucking assassin. But, Carlos Condit, natural born killer, one of my all-time favourite fighters. Love that guy. Takes on Max Griffin. It's great to see Carlos fighting. I hope he's in good health. I hope he's not hanging on like a Diego Sanchez and he's actually having problems and stuff. He's definitely not the fighter he was. We can all be honest about that. You know, as much as I love to see him, I also, as I say, I hope he's in good health and I hope he's doing it for the right reasons, because, you know, the last thing you want to see is guys that you're a big fan of, or any fighter really, dragging on way too long, more than they should. You know, you don't really want to just see people cracking on like that and end up with brain damage or long-term injuries and stuff. You know, it's just not nice. It's not what we want for the fighters. You know, you want to be able to see them, you know, grow old with their kids and their family and stuff. So hopefully Carlos is healthy, but be great to watch him. He headlines the prelims against Max Griffin, also a really great fighter. I'm not going to call it because I can't call Carlos Condit fights. I'm not going to predict that one at all. On to the main card. Really great main card. Apart from one of the fights, I'm a little bit meh. But we'll get into that in a minute. Sean O'Malley kicks off the main card against Lewis Smoker. Obviously, big opportunity for Sean O'Malley. He should have been on the Conor Khabib card, but obviously he's had issues. You know, it's interesting to see his progression. Obviously, he has that loss. The leg injuries are a worry for me. I know, you know, he talks about it being bullshit and it was just a one-time thing, but it's a worry for me. You know, he's had trouble with the legs and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes further on in his career. Can't see past him winning this fight. Lewis Smoker's a good fighter. He's got a lot of good fights on his resume. Really experienced guy in the bantamweight division. But for me, Sean O'Malley is the future. I do hope he can go and get that win back against Vera. I'm sure he wants to. I'm sure it bites at him a little bit. But, maybe they'll get it on a little bit further on down the line. Both really cool guys, and would love to see that fight again for sure. But yeah, Sean O'Malley kicks off against Lewis Smoker. I'm going with Sean O'Malley. This next fight is the fight I probably wouldn't have had on the main card. I probably would have put Pereira Nico Price on there, or Kevin Lee versus Sean Brady. Irene Aldana versus Yana Kunitskaya. I'm sure part of it is, they might feel that they have to have a women's fight on the main card. I don't know. Or it might be that the likes of Pereira and Price might be so entertaining that they want it on the prelim card to kind of sell the pay-per-view. Could be that as well. That's also like a thought behind it. But yeah, a couple of former victims of Cyborg, Irene Aldana and Yana Kunitskaya. I think Aldana lost to Cyborg. Let me pull that up. So I'm entirely aware of what's going on here, rather than making myself look like an absolute cunt. Oh no, look, I am an absolute cunt. It was Holly Holm she lost to. That's who I was thinking of, Holly Holm. Yeah, looking at her record, yeah, she's got a couple of good wins, but she's lost to Leslie Smith, she lost to Tonya Evinger, yeah, she lost to Raquel Pennington. So, yeah, I mean, really and truthfully, she's a middle of the road fighter, as is Yana Kunitskaya. Now, she is definitely, from memory, she's a victim of Cyborg. Who else has she fought in the UFC? So she was Invicta champion, and she fought Lena Landsberg, lost to her, lost to Marion Renault. Sorry, no, she beat Renault, she beat Landsberg, she lost to Aspen Ladd. That's it. So yeah, she's got a couple of good names on her resume there. Landsberg's no slouch. Marion Renault, yeah, she's all right. Vieira. Yeah, no, she's got a couple of good fights on there. So I'm picking Kunitskaya. I'm not really that interested in either fighter, to be honest. As you can tell, I thought Aldana had fought Cyborg and she hadn't. So that's how much I give a fuck about her. But yeah, a little bit unprofessional of me to say it, but this isn't really an MMA podcast. I'm just chatting shit. So we are where we are. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Not that fussed about it. That might be the time for me to take a shit break, maybe grab a snack and get myself prepped for the third from top fight on the card, which is a heavyweight fight. Oh my God, this is a great fight. Taito Avassa versus Greg Hardy. Now, obviously, a lot of people still hate Greg Hardy because of the domestic violence allegations, of which I completely concur. He probably did it. Does make him a bit of a piece of shit. However, the guy's obviously trying. He clearly hasn't done anything like that since. So, everyone deserves a second chance at life as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, all sympathy to his victim or alleged victim. Yeah, not great. But yeah, he's out there. He's trying to do the damn thing. So give him the benefit of the doubt and let's just watch him do what he is doing. And boo him. If you want to boo him, fucking boo him. So yeah, Greg Hardy versus Taito Avassa. Someone's got to go to sleep in this fight. It happens often in a fight like this, though, where it can be quite cagey. And you can end up with two strikers kind of grappling with each other because one of them doesn't want to get knocked out. Although sometimes that's also a disadvantage because then when they're in close in the clinch, a short right hand can come in from out of nowhere and just put someone away. So we'll see how it goes. But sometimes when you have two fighters that are very similar, don't have a lot of grappling, but do have a lot of firepower, they tend to grapple. Much like when you saw, when you see two wrestlers, two people that are very, very high wrestling, such as Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, a fight like that, you won't see a takedown all night. You won't see anyone shoot because it would just be a waste of time because it would be a bit of a stalemate. So they tend to strike it out on the feet. This is kind of the opposite of that. So we'll see what happens. Striker versus striker match. Interesting. Taito Avassa versus Greg Hardy. Got to cheer on my man, Taito Avassa, and hope for a shoey at the end of the fight. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Both guys really entertaining to watch. So yeah, looking forward to that. Co-main event. Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. How can anyone not be a fan of Stephen Thompson? Let's be honest, Wonderboy is the nicest guy in MMA. He's just a delight, isn't he, really? When you watch his interviews, when you listen to him talk and see the work he does with kids, he's just a great guy. Gilbert Burns is a fucking problem at welterweight. He really is a problem. He's just outside championship level as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, he troubled Kamaru. He troubled Kamaru in that first round, but then obviously Kamaru turned it on, and and that's all she wrote. But yeah, I can't see past Gilbert picking up the win here. He's just such a more rounded fighter. Thompson, I think his best days are behind him, as sad as that makes me to say. Love the guy, I think he's great, but yeah, I think since Woodley, I don't really think he's kind of been the same. And he is a lot more one-dimensional than Gilbert, and that's why I'm giving Gilbert Burns the edge. I think Gilbert Burns gets it done, quite probably by submission, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see. I could be surprised. And hey, if Stephen Thompson wins, not going to be sad about it because we fucking love him. So big up Wonderboy, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Yeah, should be an interesting fight. On to the main event. Fuck me. The main event is here. The biggest fight of the fucking year. Right, my accent's terrible. But look, the rubber match, the third match, the final chapter, or the final page in the chapter of the Conor McGregor-Dustin Poirier saga, which started all of those years ago. Wow. It's one of them things where I've been utterly convinced since that fight back in January that Conor really had no hope at all going into this fight. So, yeah, I'm kind of back on the Conor bandwagon a little bit. It's one of them ones, isn't it? It's where, like, you doubt him. But I doubted him against Nate Diaz the second time, and then he came out and done what he done. And I'm not listening to anything. Episode 14 had the conversation come up again a little bit with Raf. I'm not listening to this bollocks. He won that fight. He beat Nate Diaz in that second fight. We are owed a third fight, by the way. Let's be honest. We are all owed that. We'll get onto that just shortly as well, because I think if he loses this, that's his only other option. But yeah, man, it's one of them things where you doubt him a little bit and then he comes and does something crazy. I mean, I never really thought he'd knock out Aldo the way he did. Every time I've doubted him, he seems to have gone and done it. I thought Eddie Alvarez would give him way more trouble. So Khabib, it was kind of a given. I mean, he'd been off the mat for so long, hadn't fought in so long, seemed like he was pissed after time. So obviously had so much going on in his life, but he seems motivated again. He seems back to it. He seemed back to it against Poirier in the last fight. He was just missing a step from in my opinion, he was missing a step. Seemed to focus a lot on striking, upstairs. Didn't seem to focus a lot on going to the body or getting too much in the clinch. So caught Poirier with a couple of good shots. Caught him with a peach of a lead right hand at one point, which wobbled Poirier. So let's be honest, Poirier's there to be hit, and Conor hits like a fucking truck. Then again, so does Poirier. The difference is, I think, is a lot of the time Conor isn't there to be hit, and his defense is quite good, and he rolls with punches. I think the leg kicks in the last fight really did stifle him and his ability to move. I think that's apparent to everyone. That's not rocket science to figure that out. But yeah, when I've been watching a couple of promos and looking at a little bit of the social media content, I'm like, am I back on that Conor bandwagon? I think I might be. So I can't call it. I really can't call it. I kind of want Conor to do it because I want to see him continue. And I do think that, it would be really, really great to see Charles Oliveira get a fight against Conor for the title, because Charles deserves a massive payday at the end of the day. Poirier just had one with his last fight. He's going to get another one this time. If Conor beats Poirier, he's the number one contender as far as I'm concerned, because Poirier is the best lightweight on the planet. So obviously not named Khabib. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of want him to do it. I think Dustin wins though. I think Dustin wins, and I think it might either be a late stoppage or a Dustin Poirier decision. That's the official The Over the Hill podcast prediction. However, I'm kind of rooting for Conor. I kind of want to see him do it. Not because I don't like Dustin Poirier. Far from it. Love Dustin Poirier. But yeah, it's Conor, man. It's the entertainment value. It's the name on the marquee. As I said, if he doesn't win, I think his only option is the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz. I can't see where else he goes. Maybe moves up and fights Jorge for the BMF belt, maybe at welterweight. Be entertaining, be interesting, be fun to see. who knows who wins that? Probably Jorge, in all honesty. But again, Jorge's hittable, as we've seen. So, yeah, depends on how well Conor's power really does travel up at welterweight. But yeah, who knows where he goes if he's to lose this fight. I mean, it's really difficult to keep on keeping on with the name value and with selling pay-per-views and stuff when you just keep getting your ass handed to you. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, I'm rooting for Conor, but I do think Poirier wins. If Poirier wins, obviously Oliveira's got to be next. That title shot's got to be had. Gaethje's kind of still out in the wilderness, although, really and truthfully, Chandler Gaethje's a great fight they can make. Dariush is there or thereabouts as well. He could have a great fight with Justin Gaethje. Not a problem. Really and truthfully, you could put Gaethje in there with Oliveira, but he is coming off of a loss, so you might want to make him have one more fight before he steps into the title picture. So I don't know. It's a weird one, but yeah, really, really great card. Really interesting fight in itself, just as for example, of the main event there. And yeah, man, it's going to be one of those late nights sitting up. What I do is I'm not actually working that weekend, which is great. I've actually got 3 weeks off work. Wow, got 3 weeks off work in July. Amazing. It sounded really weird. But yeah, so I've got a couple of weeks off work in July, so I'm not going to be working that day as it is. But usually I'd go to work on a Saturday because I work most Saturdays. I'll come home, have a light dinner, go to bed early, 6, 7 o'clock, sleep for 2 or 3 hours, get up about 10 p.m, have a cup of coffee, get my snacks ready, plant myself on the sofa for 11, and that's me there till 6 a.m. Boom, done. Won't be much different with this one. Not sure if a few of the boys are going to get together. Maybe either at mine or maybe at someone else's yard. I don't know. Boys, I know you're listening to this. Holler at your boy. We'll see you are going. But yeah, man, it's going to be another one of those late nights. Got to sit and watch. It's one of those cards you have to watch live. You absolutely have to. Doesn't matter what you got to do to stay awake, as long as it's legal, of course. Just looking ahead though, after that card, you've got, what else have we got here? UFC on ESPN 26. Who's headlining this shit? Okay, yeah, so that was supposed to be Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, but Holloway's pulled out of an injury, so they're rescheduling it. At the moment, Islam Makhachev scheduled to fight Thiago Moses, or Moises, sorry. It's the return of Misha Tate. That should be interesting. Jeremy Stephens is on the card. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, I think, is he the cousin or the brother of Khabib or something like that, or some sort of relation to Khabib? He's on the card. So I keep rubbing my eye here. I've got contacts in and fucking eyes are dried out and really sore. That's just for the people who are watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, you can't see fuck all. So yeah, the middle finger there's for you. But yeah, so there's that card. Then you've got a couple of weeks after that, you've got Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. I am hoping Dillashaw gets knocked the fuck out. I cannot stand that guy. Really, really just cannot stand him at all. Snake in the fucking grass, mate. Snake in the grass. And yeah, you've got Uriah Hall scheduled to fight Sean Strickland. Also on that fight, the Korean Superboy as well. He's going to be on that card too. And then looking forward to August, UFC 265. Who we got on here? Amanda Nunes taking on Juliana Pena. Well, there's only one winner there, isn't there? So, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, a lot of really great cards coming up for the UFC. August the 14th. Darren Till expected to fight Derek Brunson in August. Interesting. They haven't said where it's going to be held yet, but it seems like you've got a couple of UK fighters on the card, including Molly McCann. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, UFC looking good for the next couple of months. Certainly a lot more interesting than the Euros. Although, as I say, if you're listening to this podcast on Wednesday and England went through last night, yay, wonderful, fantastic, excellent, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I can't see us getting further than the last 16, maybe the quarters. So yeah, fuck the Euros and fuck the Tories. But anyway, this has been another interesting little solo episode from me. Run just over an hour, pretty much where I wanted it to be. Hope you've all enjoyed the show. We'll be getting special guests back on next week. Shouts out to my special guest who couldn't make it this week. I won't put you on blast, but you know who you are. So yeah, follow on Spotify, subscribe on iTunes, leave your 5-star reviews. We're on TuneIn, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Castbox. Also now on YouTube, I'll be uploading the shows every single week to YouTube now. I've finally caught up with all the back catalogue of episodes that I had. So yeah, make sure you tune in on YouTube, check out the full video episodes, including this one. And yeah, thank you very much for being a part of everything, guys. Don't forget to keep spreading the word of the podcast as well, and leaving your feedback, theoverthehillpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, keep washing your hands, and stop sneezing on people, you dirty, dirty bastards. Peace out.